All right, this is gonna upset some people, but I think it's a fair ranking. Hey, I'm Kevin Pira, a certified financial planner, and today I'm making a tier list of the top YouTube and TikTok influencers. Again, this list is my personal opinion, so let's not get too upset in the comments, and this is all just for fun. Let's go ahead and jump into this tier list. Stephan. So Stephan is one of the OG finance YouTubers. I mean, this guy's been doing it for a long time. He's basically perfected the craft of making a clickbait title and thumbnail. I mean, if you look at his channel, it's just almost all sell, 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 the market's crashing, doom and gloom. But once you actually watch his videos, it's usually pretty reasonable nowadays regarding the market and like how to invest and stuff like that. Usually he's telling most people to invest in like low cost index funds, which is good to see. However, there are some ethical issues I've had with Stephan. You know, there was the FTX fallout and that stuff like that really worries me. So for Graham, I'm going to put him at C just because of some of those ethical things am quite concerned about, especially since, you know, with my background, that type of stuff is like a major, major red flag. However, we have to say with some respect, he was one of the OG YouTubers when it comes to personal finance. And I think nowadays his videos are a lot more cleaned up and I would say ethically minded. But yeah, for Graham, we're going to stick him at C tier. I can't put him much higher than that. I think most of his videos nowadays are pretty decent, and I think they are pretty entertaining. Berger. So Rob is actually a very good personal finance YouTube channel. He does a lot of retirement investing type videos. Now, one thing I do have to say about Rob is he seems to be very much so against financial advisors and financial planners in general, and maybe not in totality, but he really dislikes like the AUM fee structure for advisors, which I can understand to a certain degree. However, we do have some disagreements when it comes to some of the ways that advisors are paid. However, I think his content overall is really quite good. And I think from a general educational standpoint, I think a lot of people learn a lot of really good things from Rob. I think he approaches things from a very, neutral and analytical approach as well. So I have no, issue putting him at A tier, just for the fact that I think he comes from a very solid place. I think he was a securities attorney, and I think his videos for the most part are very solid. So I think for somebody looking to invest or especially like retirement planning, he might be a good place to look into, and I think his videos are pretty legit. Humphrey Yang, Humphrey is really good at making content around personal finance that is just easily digestible, something that you can just turn on real quick, learn something good. I think he might be even more popular on TikTok than YouTube. I could be wrong about that, but I think he's pretty well known on both platforms actually. And Humphrey, he seems like a nice guy. I like his background story. You don't really hear anything controversial about him. And, a lot of his videos, I think most of them are pretty well-rounded. I have reviewed a few of his videos, and for the most part, they are pretty accurate. There's been a couple times where maybe he didn't classify something right in the more technical sense. But I think for the most part, he's pretty legit, and I wouldn't really have any issue putting him in the A tier. If there is something controversial about him, I don't know about him because I'm not an expert in all these people. I just have my passings knowing them on watching YouTube and some TikTok. But for the most part, I think Humphrey Yang is pretty legit. So I think he deserves an A tier. Meet Kevin. So besides sharing our same first name, Meet Kevin is a little annoying to me, and I just, looking at some of his channel and stuff, a lot of it's clickbait and all that, which is expected on YouTube, it's whatever. Some of the content does worry me. I think there's some crypto stuff in there, a lot of real estate, I think is how he started. You'll kind of have a notice in this. I kind of have an issue with a lot of the real estate people. And real estate can be great, and there's a lot of really great professionals in real estate, but when you have YouTube and social media mixed with real estate, you get a lot of bad content, in my opinion. So Meet Kevin, unfortunately, he is going to be down here in D, maybe even F, just for the fact it's not my type of content. But if you enjoy his videos, that's completely fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But for my style, for what I'm looking for, which is educational, grounded in reality, not something that I'm here just to be purely entertained by, I'm gonna have to get Meet Kevin an F. He might be a great guy, I don't know, but for what I'm looking for, it is an F tier. All right, so here's a big one, Grant Cardone. I mean, if you don't know Grant Cardone, I'm not sure how you don't, but he's a very popular real estate influencer, I believe. I know he does a lot of business stuff, like 10x your business, things like that. The problem with Grant Cardone for me is I think a lot of the time he's just trying to sell you on something, unfortunately. more selling you on how he did well instead of the real wealth paths to wealth out there. Now, then again, if I watched a video on him, like on a podcast, I'm sure I'd think he's a nice guy, and there's probably a lot of things I could relate to him with. But again, in terms of like actual educational content, he's gonna have to be down there an F for the most part. However, if you find his videos educational and you learn something from him, or it helps you do something in your business or something like that, or helps you get more clients from your real estate or insurance business, that can be a great thing. And again, when I'm putting these people in F tier, this isn't like these people are hated or anything. I just, for my personal preference, it's not what I would personally stick with. So yeah, he's gonna be an F tier for what I like to see, but let's go ahead and jump into the next one. Caleb Hammer. I mean, this guy has really come onto the scene over the last few years doing his financial audit videos, where basically he sits down with somebody, almost like a financial planner, but instead of really trying to educate them, he's more or less just trying to kind of berate them. And over time, it's gotten much more entertainment value instead of educational. I think like 90% of the videos nowadays are just the back and forth, like entertainment side of it, rather than the actual financial discussions, which is fine. I mean, everyone has their own niche, and clearly he does very well. But again, from like an educational side of things, I don't know if I would put him at like D or F. I'd probably put him at C, because he seems actually very level-headed from like the interviews and everything I've seen, but the videos are definitely more entertainment sided. However, I think his actual personal finance understanding is actually pretty good. So I would put him in C tier. I don't think I would go much higher than that. Yeah, I think he's probably a really great guy as well if you just got to sit down and talk with him. And but again, yeah, very confrontational and definitely causes some issues for some guests. But that's what we're here for too, is we want to be entertained. So, but now, education, probably not the best. Ben Felix. So Ben Felix is a Canadian YouTuber and influencer. His videos are actually really good and grounded in, mostly academic reality, where he's, takes these research papers and he usually creates a video mostly, I think, from the research papers for the most part. He's a CFA charter holder, a CFP Pro, and probably a couple other things as well. A very well-read, academically minded individual. For me, he goes into S tier just for the fact that he is so sound with how he researches things and how his videos are produced. And I think a lot of people can learn a lot of great things from him. From a beginner standpoint, he's probably way too much in the weeds and way too nuanced. But for somebody who's starting to learn more and maybe on the more academic side, I think there's a lot of great things that you can learn from Ben Felix, and he is one of my go-tos. The Plain Bagel. So The Plain Bagel is also a finance YouTuber out of Canada. And again, this guy, he is very good when it comes to the academic side of things, and his videos are really well explained, and I think he does maybe even a slightly better job, possibly with Ben Felix, of coming back a bit more to reality instead of being completely on the academic side. That's not a knock on Ben, but I just feel like the Plain Bagels videos are more on that sense. So for me, he is going to be S tier as well, right up there with Ben Felix. Really great style, really enjoy his videos. They are a little sometimes long-winded, but it's finance. I mean, it's for education, not for entertainment for his type of videos. So, but again, very good videos, and I have no issue with putting him up there in S tier. Jasmine Dilucci. So she is a tax attorney, I believe, out of Texas. And again, she's an actual real finance professional. She has her own tax preparing law firm, I guess would be the best way to put it. I might have the terminology wrong, but she's absolutely an S tier. She usually reacts to the videos of bad tax advice and just corrects it on the spot. It's amazing. A lot of great long form videos as well, where she is providing very good, useful tax advice and tax law advice. So definitely one of my top influencers that I watch, and if not the top. I think if you're interested in anything on the tax side and tax law, Jasmine Dilucci really knows her stuff, and you'll learn a lot of really good things too, especially if you're into real estate. If you're into real estate, she's been doing a lot of videos about that and the great benefits of real estate for the full-time professionals. So check out Jasmine Dilucci. She is 100% legit. Dave Ramsey. I mean, Dave Ramsey is one of the most iconic, well-known names when it comes to finance influencers. This guy's literally been doing radio longer than I've been alive. So when it comes to ranking him, he's got to be at least A tier. I can't put him in S tier because he said some really crazy, silly things, which is going to happen if you've been doing this for 30 years. And not to mention the fact, on the investing side, he's got a few things I think just he doesn't quite understand from either an academic or in a experience side of things for like such as the 8% safe withdrawal rate whole dilemma. But in terms of the personal finance, helping people get out of debt, budgeting, the very basics, Dave Ramsey is a legend. He's got to be at least A tier. The only thing holding him back from S tier is just some of those investing nuances that I think he kind of gets wrong. But again, it's a small gripe. He is definitely a legend of personal finance. Patrick Boyle, I think this guy is. I don't know him too well. I've just seen a few of his videos. I believe he was a hedge fund manager and also a professor. His videos are a little stale for my taste, honestly, if I'm going to be completely upfront about it. But he's very much so, it seems, academically minded. Obviously, he was a professor. So I'm going to have to put him in A tier because the videos I have seen are very much so in line with the research and the academic backing that you'd want to see in a finance video. So again, he's way on the other side compared to like Caleb Hammer. He's much more academically minded from what it seems. Again, I haven't seen a ton of him. You're probably not going to get a ton of entertainment besides some dry humor jokes here and there. But again, in terms of actual educational content, he is way up there. He could be probably S tier, but again, I'm just not too familiar with him, so I'm going to give him an A tier. All right, so Minority Mindset. I have not seen a ton of his videos, but I have seen some of his clips. He seems to be pretty legit when it comes to the stuff that he's uploading. I think he seems to be a pretty humble guy, and most of the stuff he's saying is pretty much grounded in reality. There are definitely some reaction clips I've seen where some of the stuff he's just saying isn't like academically correct, or he'd maybe not know the terms super well. So I'm going to have to give him at least a B tier. He probably could be an A tier, just depending on which clip you happen to see on the day of him. He's somewhere between A and B for me. And just that unfamiliarity, I'm going to put a B just to be safe. But again, I think this is probably a very legit source of personal finance education. So for me personally, I put him at a B tier. The Money Guys. So this is Brian Preston and Bo Hansen, I believe. So these guys own a wealth management firm, Abound Wealth Management, very similar to structure to how I have my firm set up as well. These guys are 100% legit CFA charter holders, certified public accountant, Brian is, and a certified financial planner pros as well. So these guys are 100% legit, very good educational content. I think they have a good mix of some academic with a lot of stuff that's grounded more in that reality sense for the average person. But they really cover a wide range of topics, and I really do believe these guys are deserving of an S tier. I mean, these guys might be my number one in terms of just content consumed. So if you haven't already, check them out, The Money Guy Show. You won't be disappointed. You'll learn a lot of great things from people who are, have the right designations and experience. And again, these guys are 100% legit. Make sure you check them out. Andrei Jikh. So I don't know a whole lot about this guy, to be completely honest. I've seen very few of his videos. I did react to one video where it was mostly good content, but he definitely got a few things wrong. He kind of reminds me of Graham Stephan in a lot of ways, just in terms of how his YouTube videos are structured. The thumbnails, the kind of the clickbait, doom and gloom outlook on a lot of things. And I do maybe worry if there were any FTX/crypto things that might have gone wrong. Again, I don't want to bash this guy because I just don't know him well enough. I'm just going to put him C tier just to be safe. He might be D tier. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe he's a B tier. This one, I'm going to ask you guys, what do you think of this dude? I don't know him well enough. I barely even know his name. So I'm playing it safe. I'm putting C tier. Last but not least, we have Vivian. Vivian, she's mostly on TikTok, I think, and she does a lot of like really short, quick videos about explaining different things when it comes to personal finance. Right off the bat, I think I'm going to put her on a B tier. Most of her videos seem pretty decent. Again, though, it's one of those things where it's like, how much of this do you really know versus just finding it online and just, kind of regurgitating it. So, and I would feel that a lot of way about a lot of people, honestly, about on YouTube. I'm going to give her a B because most of this stuff seems pretty good. But again, it's one of those things where I'm not super familiar with her. I know she uses that term, your Wall Street BFF, I think she uses, or hot girl Wall Street BFF or something like that. It's memorable for sure. So let's give her a B tier. Most of the content seems pretty legit, but it's not something I can dive into super in depth on my understanding of her background, stuff like that. So, all right, guys, so here is my tier list. I got the S tier, A tier, B, C, D, and F. Didn't get anybody in D. Let's take one last good look at this here and see if we want to change anything. Again, some of these people I just don't know well enough to give them a true rating. Maybe Caleb Hammer could be bumped up to B tier, but in terms of educational content, I just don't think it's there. These guys, I mean, you could maybe bump up one of these to D tier, but again, it's just so much misleading stuff, I feel like. But besides that, just focusing on S and A, I feel very confident on S tier. I feel like these are very solid people if you want to learn more about on the educational side of finance, investing, taxes, things like that. I think you want to start with here, and then going down, I think these guys are also very legit for the most part. But in terms of my confidence, I would stick with S tier just to be 100% safe. So yeah, there you guys have it. That is my finance influencer tier list. If you agree, disagree, let me know in the comments. Again, this is no hate or anything or shade to anybody on the lower end of the list. That's not really my goal here. It's just my personal opinion. So let me know your thoughts, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.